First, I want to return to the Voice debate and Liberal MP Julian Leeser. As you know, he courageously quit as Shadow Indigenous Affairs Minister earlier in the year. He quit the front bench so he could campaign for the yes vote, staying true to his beliefs. I asked him earlier about the Coalition's silly claim that Labor has secretly committed to a longer Uluru Statement.
Well, Chris, as you know, I resigned as the Shadow Minister for Indigenous Australians and as the Shadow Attorney-General because I take a different view on the coming referendum to my colleagues, and I respect that they've taken a different view to me on this. I think the Uluru Statement is not relevant to what we're voting on at this referendum. We are voting on one new section to the Constitution which will recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the Constitution. It'll provide for a new committee to be called The Voice. The purpose of The Voice will be to make representations on policies and laws that affect Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and that listening to those representations should lead to improvements in outcomes in relation to education, employment, healthcare and housing. That's what this referendum is about. It's not about all the extraneous issues that people involved in the No campaign keep raising.
Sure, but they're raising them to discredit the Voice, and the Uluru Statement is important. It's because it's where Indigenous Australia put in writing its call to have a voice, and obviously the Coalition got involved in this whole conspiracy theory that it was really a secret document of 26 pages calling for all sorts of other different things. I mean, it was such an extravagant scare campaign aimed at damaging the Voice.
I think the Aboriginal leaders who are involved at the Uluru Statement have said that it is the one page and that those documents were working papers from the various meetings that took place around the country. But regardless, we are not voting on the Uluru Statement. It is not relevant to the referendum. The Voice was developed before the Uluru Statement. It was developed by Indigenous leaders like Noel Pearson, talking with constitutional conservatives like myself, like Greg Craven, like Anne Toomey and others, about finding a way forward to recognise Indigenous people in the Constitution and find a practical way to improve outcomes on the ground. And that's what this is all about. It's why I'm a supporter of the Yes case, because symbolic recognition is one thing, but practical recognition is where we get actual improvements on the ground, and that's what, as a Liberal, I've always been in favour of.
But how do you feel as a Liberal seeing your own side in Parliament running this extended secret Uluru document argument? Is it dispiriting, or do you try and counter that in public debate yourself?
Well, look, I just keep drawing people back to the provisions that we're actually voting for, because I think there's a lot of noise in this referendum debate, Chris, as you know. And I think, you know, we're hearing all sorts of claims. I mean, the Uluru Statement is many pages. We're hearing things about submarines and parking tickets. We're hearing about welcomes to country. I'm waiting till we hear complaints about dot paintings. None of those things are relevant to what we're actually voting on. We're voting on one new section to the Constitution to recognise Indigenous Australians, to create a new body so we can listen better to them in order that we can get better outcomes and save the Commonwealth some money and ensure that we're actually shifting the dial in education, employment, healthcare and housing.